Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the channel, and it's time for a horror film review. Going to continue my reviews of the Friday the 13th films, and I actually did not finish this several months ago when it was just brought to my attention. Now, today I'm back into it, and I'm going to be talking today about Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Straight up, this movie divided a fan base for several years. People like it, people hate it. It did have some mistakes, it did have some issues. But there also was some things about it that were very entertaining. And at the time, Paramount Pictures, when this was to be the very last Friday the 13th movie with Paramount Pictures, they originally intended to have this entire movie be put into New York City. However, due to the budgeting being too costly, they were not able to actually film the entire movie in New York, so they had to improvise and use scenes from the cruise ship as well as shots from Vancouver, Canada, which looks a lot like New York. But this movie was to take Jason Voorhees away from Crystal Lake and do something with him in another location. And the film really begins where Jason is still at the bottom of Crystal Lake following the events of Part 7. And this couple on a nearby boat, they put this anchor down and it gets wedged in between this electrical cable where Jason's body is actually buried at the bottom of the lake, and it causes an electrical occurrence. Jason is resurrected. He boards the boat, kills both of them, gets a hockey mask, which ironically they both had. And then he sets sight on a group of vacationers that are going aboard a cruise ship the very next day, a class that's being potentially on a trip that's being overseen by this principal who also happens to be the stepfather of one of the main characters, Rennie. And it's basically typically Jason boarding the cruise ship, and he's killing everybody left and right. He's being very stealthy, and he sneaks around the ship. He's played by Kane Hodder for a second time. And the last remaining survival of people that are on the cruise ship, when the ship goes down due to damage, they get on this raft and they go over to New York City, and Jason pursues them, and he manages to kill most of them off before coming down to the final encounter with Rennie, who actually has a past with Jason Voorhees. We learn that Rennie actually was pushed in the water by her stepdad, and he basically says, "Be careful, the boy Jason will get you." And Jason pulls her under the water, and it's also mentioned that Jason is actually emerging in hallucinations that Rennie is seeing of a child Jason. And, this was really manifested off of her encounter with Jason as a kid. And that's the whole reason why she sees Jason around before encountering the real Jason. And Jason manages to nearly try to kill her before he is potentially stopped. And this was to be the end of Jason completely. And they had this death in mind, that they were going to have him be apparently killed off with toxic waste that flows through the sewer. And Jason is pursuing Sean and Rennie, and he's got Rennie's foot and he's trying to pull her under before the toxic waste comes down and it flushes Jason. But Rennie looks down and sees a child Jason, and Sean looks down too, and apparently it's believed he can see the child Jason. I don't know if that was ever fully explained, or maybe he's just looking down to see if Jason's gone and maybe it was a coincidence. But the ending itself, I felt this was probably the weakest kill for Jason to have happen to him. Because again, he had acid thrown on him and he still kept coming. That was really something to where I just don't think that would have permanently been enough to kill him. And there are several great kills in this movie that I enjoy, but the one that I really liked was the famous scene where Julius is on the rooftop and he thinks that boxing Jason is going to be a way to get him out of the predicament, because he doesn't realize Jason is not a human killer. He's a deformed zombie with regenerative capabilities, and he's very durable, and he can take a pounding from anything worse than what Julius could throw at him. But Julius, he tried to fight Jason using his fist, and he ended up bloodying his fist. Jason did not fall down once. He says, "Take your best shot." Jason grabbed him by the collar, one shot, and knocked his head off. And they did this thing where the vision was still showing from Julius's head, and they put a camera on the mannequin head, and the head just kind of continued to go down into the dumpster down below. Brutal kill. And originally the director wanted to have Julius and Jason face each other in Madison Square Garden, but again, the budgeting prevented it, and they were not able to do it. So they had to improvise and use it on a rooftop nearby, which was fine. I mean, I had no problem with the scene whatsoever. Um, I will say that Jason killing the stepdad, the abusive prick principal, was really a good kill. Despite there was some kind of weirdness with that because Jason gets run over and then everybody leaves, and then Jason just emerges and gets up, and the guy goes, "It can't be you." And then he tries to run away from Jason. He goes up on the second story of the building despite looking behind Jason or behind him and seeing Jason, but he goes up on the second floor and then Jason already appears there before he even fully gets up there. And I hated that because that was the kind of a common thing where I think Friday the 13th, the game kind of copied that and gave Jason the teleporting ability, despite there was no indication he could do that. Like on the ship where he's chasing after one of the students and the guy goes up on the ladder and then Jason's already up there after looking up at him. It's like, there's no way he had been able to do that, but that's only a minor flaw. Um, I will say Kane Hodder's Jason was great in this movie as he was in part 7. I did not really like the costume as much as part 7. He still looks mangled, but not fully mangled the way that he was in part 7. The character of Rennie, I didn't care for her whatsoever. I just thought she was another person that obviously they wanted to be sort of the protagonist to Jason, and it just doesn't flow. Like Jason's protagonist, the person that he has a major history with, will always be Tommy Jarvis. The character of Rennie, there was not much likable about her. She just got pushed in the water and she can't swim, but she's able to see Jason as a child off of an encounter in the lake that her stepdad helped cause. I didn't care for it. I thought it was just a lame thing, and I thought that they wanted us to make sure there was something likable about Rennie, and there just never was. So this movie overall was really misleading, but it has some enjoyment to it, but I don't think it was close to being the greatest Friday the 13th movie. And I think that if they could not get the full movie in New York, they could have just kept it at Crystal Lake. But again, those longtime filmmakers are going to say, well, wait, they've done it to death with Jason going after people at Crystal Lake. And I get that, but that beats being misleading and giving a huge middle finger to the fans who were duped into believing that this was going to be a full movie in New York, and it never was. So they never should have attempted that. And that was one of the things that really hurts this movie. The blood and gore was not really all there at times either. You could tell with some of the kills. Compared to previous movies, they just kind of toned it down. Overall, this movie got crapped on a lot. And it still is regarded as a misleading film. I know a lot of fans have trashed it over the years. Decent kills. Kane Hodder's Jason was great. The main character of Rennie, not so much. And the misleading tone was really what held this movie back. So I'm going to give this movie only 2 out of 5 stars. It really wasn't a great movie, but I don't think it was the worst ever. What did you guys think of it? Tell me in the comments section down below. Oh, there's one moment in the film I forgot to mention that actually had some comedy, where Jason is chasing after Rennie and Sean, and you got these group of punks that are sitting there listening to their boombox, and he just walks up and he kicks the boombox over, and one of them pulls out their knives and says, "You are dead meat, Slimehead." And he turns around and he pulls the mask up like this, and they all got freaked out and ran away. "Oh man, it's cool. It's cool, man. It's cool." That was probably a part of the film that made me laugh. I mean, it was one of these rare comical moments. But yeah, this movie, 2 out of 5 stars. Not the greatest ever. Tell me what you think in the comments section down below. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'm going to try and get some more videos done, and have a great day.